Hello and welcome, and it is that of the 26th day of May 2018, also that of Crypto Day. Let's talk about some country music, television. Oh no, cyber miles rather. Because I hear the code CMT, well, I think of country music. However, this is a code trading in at 32.7 cents. At least that's what it's calculated by. It is not traded amongst the dollar exchange, at least on the Binance side. Whether it is on other exchanges, probably, well, maybe on some other ones. But 1 minute time frame, I mean, that you get that quite often with a lot of codes on the 1 minute. 15 minute, it's had a nice little up run, decent price correction, and just huddling or just hanging in there right now within this support level. 3 hour time frame, and I got some lines on the screen. It's range bound, and the upper end of this range, lower end of this range is, well, the upper end of the lower end, 29 cents. And the bottom end hasn't been hit in a while. That's the 20, I guess, I don't know. We'll say 27. When we get to the daily term time frame, it's going to look, well, right here. This is an interesting pattern with now 4 different lines on the screen. Let's go to the daily. So we got the up move, sideways action, but notice within this low to this low, it's getting a little higher. I do like how this is hovering around now for so many periods at the newly rising 18 average of highs like this. And I do realize it could very easily have continue this great setup and come down to the 30-cent number or the 18 of lows. But on the daily chart, this thing comes out, and then to see it better, I'm just going to go like this and like that. This thing comes out at the end of December. At least it starts trading on Binance at around 22 cents. Because everything was in a bullish mode, it finishes off the altcoin rally into January, reaching up to about close to 60 cents. And then the decline. So this is Fibonacci from the high and the low. These numbers were known going into this high. As the market was declining, and you've seen it, say, falling below 22 cents, you already knew that the high in the market was in at, I'm trying to see the number up to 65.2 cents. And then in here, you're like, okay, we got a low in at 11.7, and it starts rallying, and you had that. Then this probably came up to a key fib number and then declined. But from this low, it comes up to the 23.6, and then you get that little washout scare coming close to the previous low, building a double bottom with a powerful rise that followed, breaking past 2 key Fibonacci points as it left as 23.6. And notice how the marks are just playing within it so well. And then it's rallying up to the 38.2, and from the time it leaves it, and I'll take a look at this on a more shorter term level to give you a better example of such. But you go from Fib 1 to Fib 2, we'll say, in 3 straight days, pretty much relentlessly nonstop. And then you spend several days playing around this level, the first couple as resistance, and then the next one, it has a nice, decent break above, comes back to that key level, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight days in a row up again, relentlessly going up. And then the 6th, 7th, 8th, 8 consent days, 1 day down and 1 big day up. Fibonacci was 37.11.9. Key high was 37.3526. So this is doing what Fibonacci is supposed to do. And if you want to be an early getter in the market, and you want to take and you want to take a chance now, this is not a bad time to buy. I'll show you the strategy I'm using because I did buy. Other ways is if you like it and you want to be an early getter and you want to take a little bit of a chance, then you wait for it maybe to come down to the 18 average lows and make another higher low to this one. And then you have the situation of just wait for it to break clearly above. So you wait for this to go somewhere around the 41 point, well, somewhere around 42 or in a break above. And that's obviously going to cost a larger amount. And this is traded on Binance, and this is one exchange I wouldn't mind start building an account with, or trying to see if I could do really well with it. At this stage, all I'm doing coming in is just using it as a hedge. Thus, kind of, if I want to trade anything right now, it'd be against the US dollar. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, do I see great potential for something like this? And I kind of think I do. Now, this is traded on two different exchanges, one against their currency and one against Bitcoin. So let's first take a look at this against Bitcoin. And I do want to go back actually to the other one at the end, where just to show you the moves from fib to fib on like a 2 or 3 hour time frame. But this one, when you look at this level here, this is pretty cool. Because this level of resistance, and I'm just going to put a few lines in here. Do that resistance high. This little range in here. The level of resistance that it had from January. It comes straight up to that point. Resists close to where it came from. Very good price correction to the 18. And then it rallies again up again, and it supports this level, as we can see, with like 4 consecutive periods. Just staying around that level. The little bit of a breakdown that occurred on the timestamp of May 24th. Oh, excuse me, no. On May 19th. And then the thing starts getting going again. Two nice green candles up, one red down, 2 nice green up, and today is a small red one down, which shows you again that this could come down, meet up within the 18. It is a little extended when looking at it against the price of Bitcoin. You're also looking at a code that is very early in play, one that has potential to have, if you're looking for the 100x gain, well, 100x gain from 900 would be like 90,000. So at that stage, that still would be a 20x gain. And a lot of those coins have the potential to do so. Whether that does or not, well, I guess time will only tell. So we'll now take a look at this against their coin. And this has a really interesting pattern when you look at it. For the Bitcoin one, it looks a little overextended, with possibility to continue going in its uptrend, of course. The dollar had a nice looking pattern, and this here, you've got support here. You've got this little of resistance. The 18 average is still in a nice productive uptrend. And within the last few days, or just to even how today's session is going, it's 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time. The vast majority of the day is done. It's spent today's session consolidating at the upper end of a big area of resistance. Okay, I'm trying to move it so that this will work. So to me, when I look at a situation of here, the entire decline, the entire rally before the correction, what looks to be a very successful sideways market correction, that this does look poised as if it's ready to break through and move higher. This level of resistance, of course, matching within this high. You know, I'm not too bad at math. I'm actually good at math, but the price target here is 5946, which is better than a 100% gain against this currency. And we'll take a look at the BNB chart, because it's actually an interesting chart as well. But I think this has got decent potential, at least just based on the chart as it is being shown. So then, most likely this will be the market that I traded against. I haven't put any sell orders in. My strategy is either wait for a decent size up or down move to either sell or buy. So when I can start to see a significant gain, I'm probably looking at, depending on which I'm looking at, against Bitcoin, dollar, or against the Binance coin, I'm going to be looking for at least an opener gain of about 30%. So maybe something up here to start. And if it goes down, it has to go down just again, decently again, lose 20, 25+% of its value again, then I'll put another buy order in. And then just continuously play my buy low, sell high game. And that's my strategy. Of course, anything you do is always within your own risk, own reward. But I look at situations like this. I'm going, and let's just now go back to the original chart that I shown, and take a look at this on the 3 hour within the moves that it made. So here's that situation back in here. So that's that pattern that we're seeing in here. Great gain, and then you have a decent sideways move. When you break resistance, there it goes. There's hardly any selling at all, and it shoots right up to this key point, spending its entire run at or above, and usually well above, the 18 AV of highs, or AVG average. There's that pullback from it. Interesting. So therefore, if you look at mathematics in here, for this to be a great sale, you had to be fast and maybe even lucky. Because one, you had to have been fast enough to be able to time this sell down, and then lucky enough to get it. Because it's better to be unlucky and buy back at a very conservative 137 level than it is to have a buy order ready, say, back where it came from here at around 120 or anything below where it was. But as we can see within its move, it has its move up to this level again. It just stays there for a while. And then when it's ready to go, as we can see, just hugging this 18 average of highs before it goes. There we have it. Decent sized move, but it comes back quickly to this line, which worked out to be great support. See, when you see, this is like when I talk about with the typical. If this thing would have started to roll over here, that would have been the typical failed breakout, fast move lower. Because it's not uncommon to have just an okay leg higher, come back to exactly that neckline area of where you came from. That can be very bullish, as we see here. And this is why when you get down to these points, this is where the defining moments, or that D-Day level, decision day, what's it going to be? The big move low, the big move high. In this case, the decision was the big move high. And it just continuously moves non-stop up to this key line, and then stops going higher. And then what do we see? A little, just once it hits resistance, one price correction, Then when it came there again, it gave you a much smaller price correction. And then when it came to this line, it just went through it, supported it the period after it broke, and then said goodbye to that line. Until, of course, it comes back, hitting a high of close to the 30 number. But after it came back, right back up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive green candles near that 37 number. And then hitting it perfect pretty much a few periods thereafter. So there's a decent sized decline back to 26. It supported it weekly. Weekly, not like week or month, but weekly as in very weak was its support, because it was so on this red candle, but we see it resisting it. And when you look at a spot where you have the reversal, like it was going on down towards here, you have the band flattening out, but more so in here. So you're looking at a spot, oh, this looks very bearish because it went down, it's resisting it, and now it's just down to the 18 lows. When you look at it more clearly, it's like a decision day kind of moment, and it made its decision for a couple legs higher. We're seeing a lot of this choppiness. What is this choppiness? It's been this correction through time. And of course, again, it's at the upper end of it. When you play a range, this is your sell area up in here, and your buy area, of course, would be a little bit lower in here. I just went through the numbers on the early end. I do like right now how it is holding, and again, I'm looking for a decent sized gain selling on the upside, and I'll only sell some of it, looking to buy back cheaper. Or I want this to decline well. We're probably talking about, well, what's 10%? It's a move that would probably be bringing it back even to this 15 cent to like 18 cent level. But again, trading it against Binance probably. Let's go to this code again. Or let's just look at BNB against Bitcoin. A very interesting chart. And I don't care what chart I'm really showing you. If I'm giving you any random 15-minute chart that only spans back about a day and a half or so, today's, it doesn't really give you anything. This is a 15-minute time frame, but let's look at the daily. Yeah, interesting. For what we have is this. We also have this run in here. How it's been holding this level very nicely for a few periods. And then what we have further is this level of resistance acting as support. Very productive daily time frame against that of Bitcoin. Now this coin is very useful to have if you are trading on the exchange, even if you want no part of its trade. For by owning such, you can use this as rake to pay for your trades. Thus every time you need to, depending on how big of a player you are, if you're, well, at least buy one at a time. Every time you run out, you just buy another. And that just is a reason for why people would want to buy that coin. When we look at the coin on the 3-day time frame, I'm just going to show you, I mean, the picture paints, or can say 1,000 words or whatever. And finally, the BNB against the US dollar. When you look at it from the 3-day, it's just holding in there relatively in at about the 13 or so dollar mark. Within it, we have the really fast move bringing it up from a buck and change to about over 20. Then a very fast move down to 6. Okay, let's lose about 3x. It established this level of resistance. It has now supported that established resistance, thus establishing a new one in here. Right now, that's the trading range, but it's at least in a nice little uptrend. And on the daily time frame, it's chopping around in low volatility, meaning, and I say low volatility, that means there's decent sized gains along the way. There's just small legs higher and lower, basically. So, but overall, it's hanging in there pretty good, because a lot of the cryptos since the January highs have been in big downtrends, where this one has been holding it. Now, I'm supposing that Binance never existed when I started trading, or even a while, or for a long time after that, that this has been only around since November. Or I don't know how long Binance has been around. And I can't remember when I first heard of them. But obviously, when I was in my early days of trading, less than a year and a half ago, or in the early parts of 2017, I never registered an account with them. But if the markets end up having a spot where, say, Bitcoin falls to 3,000, is it possible that, say, this maybe only falls to, say, this previous low at like 560? Thus matching maybe, or even just falling a little bit higher possibly as well. And then if Bitcoin has monstrous gains, would this follow as well? Because it wouldn't surprise me if we talk about going from this low to this high to this correction to the point of breaking this level of resistance, and then either having little resistance here, having a good price correction back higher, or just whatever, breaking this point and saying, okay, I guess I'm going to have to calculate Fibonacci upside from this high to this low and see prices up $100 for this coin. Definitely possible within these wild, volatile markets that we're seeing. And to finish this off with, of course, CMT, country or cyber miles. When I look at the information from the website, and I'm actually going to use Steemit for this example here. Cyber miles coin review, like eBay on steroids, from CryptoLite. And it's a very lengthy post in here. But the way I look at it is, if this is a real good coin and the actual crypto market is not bubbling and it's going to be, at least for the next multiple months, good, then this coin should do well. If this has any type of pump and dump scam written on it, which I don't think it does, then my strategy will still work, as I'll be looking to sell when it goes high and buy when it goes lower. Thus, as I stated, wait for at least 30% gains to start selling, maybe even close to 50% gains. And then same thing on the downside. And I'm not too big on the fundamentals on here, but what is important is the team. And when you can get names and faces like this impresses me. Because if you see me talk about Litecoin Cash, I wasn't too impressed when I looked at avatars and the like. So I'm going to give it a shot. After all, it's a risk-reward business. After all, the way I look at it is, if I can get fortunate enough to make some decent enough trades where, again, I wait for a 50% gain. So say I get a 50% gain, we'll just use a unit going from 100 to 150. So I would sell at 150, And if the number scale were to say do something like this, this would make me very happy, which would mean a unit of 100 goes to 150, you sell. You buy back at 120. Goes up to 180, you sell. Goes to 270, you sell some more. 420, you're selling even more. Buy some back at 300, buy some back at 225. Then it goes way up, 360, 600, 1200. And if that's able to be done, and a lot of codes it will be, then that's tremendous gains. And this is really asking for a 12x gain, but that can be done easy by so many different cryptocurrencies. But a lot of the situation is, if I say had 100 units at 100, that means I'd be worth 150. So now I only want to scrape off maybe 20 of those units, maybe even 15 of them. So therefore I would sell, 20 into 150, that would work out to like a little less than 1/7 of stack. Maybe 10% of it you sell. And then if I were to buy back at 120, it's not the greatest of gains, but for every 1 unit I sell, maybe I'm able to get back about 1.2. And then when you get the massive plays, when you're able to get like a sell, and be able to go from a 420 to a 300 differential, that is like 30%. So if I sold, say, 250 of something, that means I'm buying 340 or something back, or 320 back. And it's just a way of trying to increase the return on an overall net portfolio. And then, of course, letting yourself in line so that if we continue the numbers cycle, which say goes from 225, 360, 1200, maybe 1600, maybe down to 1000, and then 700, and then back all the way up to, like, say, with a whole bunch of other trades, say to like 25,000. Because again, I've seen so many coins do 20, 50, 100, 300x maneuvers before. And 25,000 on a situation like this would be extreme, because if you're starting with 100, that would be a move of 250 times. It's been done. If it were to go to, say, 100 units and I do all these swing trades back and forth and I'm able to sell when this is at 10,000 or 100 times. You look at what you put in on your original buy and how you just sell small chunks of it, and a small chunk sale is barely higher than your original buy. Those are good feelings to have, where you own a small fraction of what you own during the upper highest end prices. They're worth more than what you bought. Say you buy 0.03 Bitcoin worth. You trade along the way, do well, and then goes up like, say, 100 times. And what you have, say, around maybe 1 Bitcoin worth. Of course, 3 times 100 is 3. Well, you're going to be selling along the way up. But again, when you're selling 3% of your portfolio, and you should be selling more at this time, but depending on how much and how often you sell. For your original buy to be 3% at a certain area, that's a good feeling. And then to have a spot where you do say, oh, I'm just going to sell a third of this right now. I'm going to bring this down to 0.67. And say you're doing this at price 50,000 Satoshi. And then it goes down to 20,000 Satoshi. And you're like, man, I want to buy. And you can, when that's happening, you know you're winning in the game, basically. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Remember, everything you do, like always, is your own risk, own reward.